So I just started school yesterday and it wasn't horrible. But I remember when I was grieving and in a really low place and I was at school because I needed to go to school in order to get money to live and ideally heal. I would just be sitting in this classroom and be like, why am I here? Why am I inside right now when I could be outside learning from Mother Earth, being in nature, feeding my soul, and ideally feeding into the earth with my love? Why am I sitting in a classroom of strangers talking about these big ideas, but we're talking through these masks, through these big words, through these shields we use to protect ourselves? We're never actually connecting, just kind of words, 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 words. And it's not that ideas and education isn't so valuable and important, that these do not change lives in and of themselves, but it feels odd just, expecting to learn from one another but not know each other. We're all coming from such different places. The stakes of our lives are so radically different, and yet the structure of the university classroom demands that I am not fully human, demands that I am not fully in my body, demands that I am not fully present with these people, present in my soul and present with their souls. Why am I here in this classroom when I could be loving someone, when that someone could be myself? Why am I here just around people constantly overwhelmed and complaining about all the things they have to do when life is so abundant? What about the things we want to do, What about the things that feed our souls? That the structure of the American city demands that you walk so quickly and you move so quickly so that you do not linger, so that you can stay in survival mode, so that you can survive the city. This past year, I have started to become a person, to let myself be a soul inhabiting a body, instead of a soul trying to survive that which the body struggles to survive too. I've been thinking a lot about what being a transracial Chinese adoptee means, what it means to have been born into a government structure that does not see your existence as economically valuable, into a society that does not see your female existence as economically desirable to one's future retirement, into a world wherein the desires of a Western market shape the entire projection of your life. When we're in a Western desire for infants and babies, means that then trafficking and corruption will occur in your homeland, that children will be taken from parents who wish to love those children out of what? Greed? Out of what? Laws? It does not make sense. It does not make sense. I do not understand this world where we are expected to accept the notion that buying and importing children is normal, that is something I should be grateful for. I do not understand this world where you can spend your whole life chasing after that which never feeds your soul and still struggle to first feed your body, when the earth is so abundant, when food comes from the ground. Why are so many people struggling to be fed? I do not understand this world where to be in relation with people I am expected to soothe and cope together, where Instead of relationships being about meeting as two souls, instead of relationships being about mutual spiritual growth, they are about coping, they are about surviving, they are about managing through this life, about getting enough of this, sense of community, sense of belonging, but never really actually being able to sit and heal and be present in your wholeness. I do not understand this world where a man can be homeless for who knows how many years. But I've seen him outside every year that I've been at this institution, so at least 5, outside of a school with $1 billion endowment, that I could walk by and see him every day, and I am supposed to just keep walking because I have places to go and things to do and essays to write and readings to read, and I do not understand. Do you understand what this does to the soul? People like to talk about the rise of mental illness, about phones and technology and all of that, but the phone is just one of the many coping mechanisms, the many ways that we numb ourselves out in the society. The phone is sort of an acceleration of the problem, but not the root of the problem. Anxiety and depression, mental illness, not always. I don't want to say always, but a lot of times, those are survival skills. Those are your survival skills. Anxiety, where does that come from? Anxiety comes from that innate human need to survive. Anxiety gives you the cortisol, it gives you the energy in a fight or flight situation. We are constantly activated in a fight or flight situation. Depression is a numbing out to survive that which is not tolerable. We are constantly living in intolerable conditions. These are means of coping in a world that does not fulfill the soul, in a world that is not structured around our collective well-being. Why do I meet some of the wealthiest people in the world? People who would not even call themselves rich, even though they're filthy with it. People who do not have to worry about having their basic needs met. And yet they are constantly stuck in survival mode. And yet I see how money in my bank account, money from the school that I go to, can so easily slip into the same survival mode. Or maybe the question is actually, why do we live in a world where success is structured by monetary wealth instead of soul wealth, instead of community wealth, instead of the abundance of the land, instead of your success is my success, your pain is my pain, I am walking with you instead of past you? This is not a giver and receiving situation. We are in community. Community, what does that mean? When monetary success in this current system, where monetary success is almost required for our survival, our physical survival, actually demands a denial of the soul, a denial of connection, a denial of doing anything but being in survival mode, to fixate your attention on that which does not really matter, on screens and numbers and transactions masquerading as conversations, to care about these made-up things, but not the souls they affect. When I say I went back to school, what I mean is that I am at war for my soul. And I know it sounds dramatic, but I really mean it. I really mean it. I think we in America are at war for our soul. And maybe some of us never had a soul, or never had the chance to find our soul. When I say that there's an emptiness and whiteness, that is not to make white people feel bad. That is not to say that white people don't have feelings or emotions or souls, but when I say there's an emptiness and whiteness, what I mean is that in order to be comfortable in whiteness, in order to feel like a good person in whiteness, which I think all people are inherently good, but in the whiteness, being in the whiteness, I think growing up in the whiteness, that to to deny the humanity of another, to deny your own humanity, the things that whiteness holds. The words are escaping right now, but the things that whiteness holds, to me, reflects an inherent denial of the soul. Do you understand? To be comfortable as a white person, which in this society, oftentimes comfort is very linked to survival. To be comfortable in whiteness in this society requires an acceptance of the ways in which the white soul, and ways in which whiteness denies the soul, by accepting and propagating the oppression of others, that disconnect, that delineation, that historic pain. People will say, well, that was generations ago. Babes, the things that happened generations ago live in my body. Do you understand? I am not an individual in the world with no context. I am rooted only through my context. I am rooted only through community. I am a dream of a dream of a dream. Do you know who survives in me? And so when I talk about being a transracial adopted into a white family, what I mean is that my roots were deemed as unnecessary and unimportant because the white people who adopted me had already forgotten their roots. What I mean is that America is a country of forgetting. It demands forgetting in order to be comfortable, and demands comfort in order to survive. What I mean is that to be rootless, to be nationless, to lack an inherent connection to community, to lack an inherent connection to culture is to lack. It is to hold parts of the soul so tenderly and know that there's something so wrong in our world. And so when I say, what I mean, when I talk about this, is that I cannot untangle the way that education has helped me understand and grow my soul, but also the way that these systems have starved me of life. What I mean is that I'm grieving the world we never got a chance to live in, and I'm centering the soul in the one we do. What I mean is that I care about you. I care about you. I care about your soul. I care about you, but also I'm not really willing to risk my precarious level of sanity in a system designed to make one insane. What I mean is that I am understanding money is not something you can earn when there is blood on the paper, blood in the numbers, but that in this world money has become seeds, and I'm not sure yet or where or how I want to plant them. I think about Ismatu Gwendolyn, saying she is not a philanthropist, that she wants to eat the rice too, the rice that she farms for her people, the rice that has come from her experiment, from her dream, and understanding that when you can feed your community, you can feed yourself. When you feed your community, you feed yourself because the community feeds into you. And so when I talk about being a transracial adoptee, when I talk about navigating an institution, a system that's not centered around the soul, I'm talking about the fracturing of community that our country seems to demand and propagate, not only in America, but across the world. I'm talking about my state as a rootless self, as a nationless daughter, as another product and commodity in the capitalist machine. And again, these might sound like words to you, but do you understand that I was bought? Do you understand that US dollars were paid? And in exchange, I became someone's child. And I was never told growing up that I cost money. I had no idea, but that does not change the fact of what occurred. does not change the fact that my mother always said that Asian babies are the prettiest. You don't say that about humans, you say that about commodities. I am not a fruit at the grocery store to pick up. This one smells good, this one looks good. No, I am a human. But I have been denied that in this world. And so in this globalized world wherein soul and heart and culture and community is traded for numbers on screens, it is this state wherein one begins to depend on those numbers to stay afloat. Because to give money away, to plant those seeds without community becomes a philanthropy, an othering, a charity. And when I say that we depend on those numbers, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. You live in this world too. You know what I mean. We live in a I don't know how to express it. It feels sometimes like we live in a company town, you know. It's like we do this labor, we get these little numbers in a screen, and then we get our little commodities, we get our little, the things that we need, our fruits and our vegetables, and I can buy, a pink rug with a sheep on it off of Temu that is made with the unethical labor of my people. It's based on the oppression of my people, but I can have this fluffy rug, and that brings me some measure of comfort and maybe even some measure of joy, but there's no abundance there. We can live in these apartments with the most beautiful plants and the most beautiful decorations, and we can have our salmon, and we can have our bananas that are farmed through monoculture, through the degradation of the land, through the degradation, to the harm of the people. In Costa Rica, United Fruit Company. Don't even get me started. Why are these bananas cents when the violence that they have caused is senseless? And yet we are so distanced from that. And not only are we distanced from that, but what choice do we have when we need to eat too? We need a certain level of well-being and comfort to survive and ideally thrive in this society. I'm not asking you to starve yourself. That is not the goal. The goal is that we can all be fed. The goal is that we can all live in abundance, not only of the body, but in the soul. And so the goal is not charity. The goal is not philanthropy. I grew up in the church. Charity was a big deal, and I don't think charity is bad, but the goal is not to live in a society structured around charity where that the systems of oppression that create the inequities that make charity possible still exist. And so when I say that I go to Yale, and I'm not proud that I go to Yale, what I mean is that Yale structures New Haven into Yale and not Yale, into privileged and oppressed, so that even, well, this is not, the beginning of my sentence was actually separate from this, but I have things that I've written down, and I have things that I'm just saying from my heart right now, so it's getting a little muddy, but Yale structures New Haven into Yale and not Yale, into privileged and oppressed. So even those from New Haven who go to Yale, even those who aspire to live aligned with the Yale notion of success and comfort and being, become othered to themselves in a sense. We all become othered to ourselves in a sense because we are denying aspects of our soul that wish to breathe. When I say that Yale is not a place, what I mean is that it refuses to wholly be a place and instead demands that people come and become commodities to a system. Every conversation is networking. Everything is a transaction. To have friends is to have social commodities here. We are not here because we are part of a genuine community, a community that feeds into the people, a community where our souls are intact, a community wherein we have vested interest, we have shared struggle, where we share the struggle together, where we share our joy together. No, Yale is a place where you must come as an individual and you must live as an individual to survive this place. To come into Yale with a giving heart, to come into Yale with your heart on your sleeve and with your soul exposed is really dangerous. It's really dangerous because people will exploit that. People will take that. It's like, are we built to live in worlds of strangers? Does that make sense? Like, why do we spend so much of our day and time around people who do not genuinely care about us and care about our souls? Why is this the world that we live in? We come to Yale and we share and exploit our experiential knowledge. We exploit our bodies. That grind set. Come on, y'all. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it keeps you so occupied. It keeps you so busy that you never have to dream beyond survival. We refuse the existence of our souls. It requires that you accept the power dynamic, the oppression. It necessitates an inability to genuinely be in healthy, abundant community with all people. See, I have an alarm set. Like, why do I have to set alarms? Why do I have a Google Calendar? Like, what? This is not the life I want to live. Do you understand? But to not live the Yale life means that I cannot find belonging there in the traditional sense. It means that to not buy into the system means that you also cannot fully benefit from the system. And to not benefit from the system puts you at fear of not surviving the system. And so yes, it necessitates an inability to genuinely be in healthy, abundant community with all the people, with all souls around us. We talk about liberation for all, but then we're living these horribly unliberated lives. We can't even get our own selves liberated. How are we supposed to liberate other people? It means that we have to understand that the numbers in our bank accounts, the future numbers Yale might permit us, come at the expense of the souls and bodies of the people in New Haven, comes at the expense of our souls, because oppression and poverty is weary on the soul. But while some people's surviving comes through the bolstering of the soul, the bolstering of community, others comes directly at the cost of the soul. What I am saying is, I don't wish to lose my mind yet. In the words of Isma to Gwendolyn, I don't want to go bonkers. I'm not ready to go bonkers yet. I was just bonkers. I can't do it right now. I am building up wealth in my soul. But I fear that becoming bonkers, that going crazy, might one day be necessary in order to not lose my soul. Do you understand? I meet people and they ask, was Yale your dream college? I do not dream of college. I do not dream of labor. I don't have a dream job. And yet, within this system, I cannot deny that it is Yale's very money, America's money, the academic exploitation of myself, the insistent, the necessary lack of awareness of my full self living in a white space. I had to deny my full racialized being, cultural being, my heritage, in order to survive, in order to reap the benefits of living in a white family. Because there are benefits, there are privileges there. I had to deny my own soul, my own self, my whole being. That money, that survival, that has allowed me now to buy enough time to finally breathe, to become a person in the world. I owe so much to New Haven. I owe so much to this city. This is a place where I have finally become a person, where I have fallen in love with the place and fallen in love with myself. New Haven has given me things that Yale never could. Do you understand that? Do you understand how much Yale depends on New Haven? Do you? Like, people love to turn it around. People love to turn it around. You go to countries where American tourism is, Costa Rica, and you see the way that tourism is destroying and degrading their land. You see not only that, but how it's twisting their people. How American exploitation, American imperialism, American colonies is. These are not just big words. These are people's lives. These are people's souls. These are people's cultures. These are people's communities, people's families. And then people be like, well, I'm like, this should not be for sale. There should not be tourism here in this way. And people are like, well, don't they depend on it? That's the problem. That's the problem. You know, if I said Yale should not exist, if I said I would love a world where Yale does not exist in this way, where Yale does not exist like this, where New Haven can fully breathe and let its soul fully express itself, because New Haven has such a beautiful soul, do you understand? That's crazy. Do you see what I mean? I'm so close to going bonkers, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it right now. Because people would be like, well, doesn't New Haven depend on Yale? No. Yale depends on New Haven, do you understand? Yale depends on New Haven. I want you to look around at how much black and brown labor is fueling the world. And not just black and brown labor, but black and brown care, femme care, disabled care. We like to think sometimes of depending survival as money. But what if we reoriented towards the soul, the things that feed our soul, and also the things that feed the soul of the land? I think that our understanding of wealth and abundance would radically change. I think that our goals in life would radically change. I think that the way that we move through the world and the way that we move with ourselves would have to change. We wouldn't have any of this situation bullshit. Like, this is so crazy. Situation bullshit. Covertly meeting emotional needs. Transactional relationships, which, this is not to say relationships aren't inherently transactional in a sense, but again, if we're living in community with people, if your success is my success, where's the transaction? No, this is abundance, baby. This is growing together. But I can currently not live in community with the entire world the way in which the world exists and still survive in and of myself and stay sane. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it at this moment in time. I have to focus on my soul and on my well-being first right now, and that sucks. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to. It sucks. Like, I know codependency is unhealthy, but I think that codependency, in a sense, speaks to our deep need for community and belonging that does not exist in a lot of this world. Or it does exist, and we are being asked to, we are forced to let go of it, to not be present in it, to go miles away to school so that then we can get money for our community. Like, money, don't even get me on it. And so I cannot deny that only a deep selfishness, a deep unentanglement from those who I wish to be in community with, but who I realize we are only ever surviving together, a deep individualism has allowed me to finally stop drowning in this world. And so this is the paradox we find ourselves in. This is the alienation Marx speaks of. One wherein we must ignore our very souls to continue. One where we cannot do more than survive without tenderly bringing our souls to light. I dream of abundance for my people. I dream of stars in the sky and clean water. I dream as food for my soul when life feels more like plastic and static than heart and soul, when the world seems to use even music, even art to numb themselves. This is the song I wish to sing. These are the words I wish to speak. This is an incantation of grounding. This is a spell. This is a prayer to have roots, to grow roots. This is my fear. This is my hope. This is my beating heart, my endless love. This is to you. May you have peace. May you have wellness. And may you seek out that which feeds your soul. Thank you.